Okay, guys, back with you here on Friday the 13th, middle of the day here, and by request in the polling, CMG squeaked out the number 2 spot. So here's our full history. We're going back to '06. Now, there's a little bit of a monkey in the wrench here, because when you first bring this up here, your eye just wants to go, oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Easy enough. ABC. What's the problem? But if you zoom in down here, in actual fact, this is the low. Right, so you cannot call that the 2. Right, so this is our absolute low here. Right, we just now it's right. You pull back out and you go, oh, really? So, but you can't. Right, a break is a break. Right, that you can't. So we're no longer internal. So we cannot call that the 1. So you got to dig it out. You just got to change the count accordingly to something along these lines, which the symmetry really falls apart when you do that. Right, obviously. But certainly this is impulsive. We're off the low here, so impulsive 3 waves for correction. So I'm more inclined just to stay with this as an impulse. This is the correction. Now it is deep, so if we go to our absolute, well, let's get the lowest of the low right here. We do break the golden zone coming down, so higher probability here that this action here would suggest that this is a 2. So I'd stay with the 1, 2. Off we go, right? Already passed those highs, so good case to be made that we're in the 3rd here. Now this action down here, it is interesting. So coming back the other direction, right? If I get to that low, well, we get a little bit of a reaction here at the 50. It looks like it wants to head down, but then it runs into. Let's get you off here. All right, but then this pullback is technical, and right, bulls take over. So now this is I just thought to emphasize, this is very typically the kind of thing. This is just the kind of thing you'd see in FX, where this is their market makers here want to lure in breakout traders here. So thus they're looking for the breakouts to get them short, and then pull. Of course, look what follows, right? So that's that kind of thing to watch for, those little spikes down like that. Now, so where you would have real confirmation that we had a good low down here, despite this little, that's just breakout traders getting bent over there. So what? Take a look at this from the low. What do we do? 50 to the tick. So a little 3-wave structure. Here we are at the 50, and then clean rip here. So at this point, once we start to go, then you got your low here. Let's see, I'm on a 3-day, so let's go to the daily here. So I mean, solid. Here's our shorthand for it. Now we don't make the 618, so the APP that we draw here is going to be slightly off that, right? But it's quite in line with our anticipation. So where's the high probability zone for a 3, right? Right there. Where do we go? So reasonable, right, to think, oh, 1, 2, 3, right? I mean, we're literally by the Elliott playbook. So now this retrace here to the Vegas wave, I've got a little 3-wave structure and then already a little push higher. So perhaps the market is anticipating good news here. There's a couple things to note here. So with this established here, so we'd want to check for, okay, how do we look? Is the 4 in? How do we look for, we've got a little 3-wave there, a little ABC. Well, we come, where are we expecting the 4th between the 23 and the 38? All right, we're looking good here. Just kind of look left, right? You can see this structure here seems to be coming into play here. We stall here. This was the stall out on the rise before we drop. Now are we going to hold here? Was resistance, potentially support here. Look here, we're right in the Vegas wave. So we've got a contender there. If this is going to hold, there's a possibility that this could get trading view. This could get a little deeper, right? So we could have more complexity to get something like that. So potentially WXY. If the earnings is interpreted negatively by the market and this has more down, well, you can kind of see a little channel that you could put in place here. If we were going to come down, if we were going to come down a little bit lower, you wouldn't want to see this go too far, but this would be an area to be looking for. You'd want to be able to tie it in with some structure over here. I mean, you got a pretty good cluster right here. Do you see in the volume profile? All right, so right here at the 38. So just pull that across. It's all of this. So they're reasonable that you might anticipate some support there. So if this does come down a little further, now you wouldn't want this to be going, deep down. Of course, the advantage here, the more shallow the retracement, the stronger the market. So that's really what the shallow 4 is telling you. If that's going to have the legs to get up here, and well, we got, of course, an algo target. We could do a few other things as well, perhaps looking for parity between the length of the 1 projected from the proposed 4 here. So we might tee that up as well. Length of the 1 project, if this is going to hold, is the 4. Well, here's our little projection box. So we've got our algo target in the 100, which would be a common target for the wave 5 to find parity between the 1 and the 5. So all of this kind of lining up rather nicely here. Let's get that. So here's our little hot box, and then the last thing I would do is get some geometry on this. All right, so from our low to our pivot here. All right, let's get this into original recipe, and lo and behold, what do we get here? So, well, one, look how nicely this is framing the market, right? So, as I remind you, right, the market gives us its geometry. So, with this move here, what did I have here, right? So, this is a corner pocket, right? So, we're at the 50, not golden, but corner pocket. Well, as I was suggesting in the earlier video, right, it's 80% that we make the median line. Could do it here, could do it here. It's just the 80% has already been realized, right? So as long as this pivot holds, boom, there we go. So but look how we hold the upper structure here. Right, just amazing. So we come down, trend line, Vegas wave. Now, if we're going to go again, this looks pretty good to be heading up towards this. Now, this could just be the 1, right? So if we're going to have a little subdivision here, so we might have just the 1. Now, if the news is negative, right, we go down deeper. Now, it wouldn't kill the potential impulse here. It's just a question of how far it's going to go down. But if we're going to get maybe a little sell-off prior to earnings, and if we do get the good reaction, then you'd be looking for something like that to bring you up here to complete this move. But note, we're looking to complete the move off of this low. So you got to kind of pull back and go, well, where would that put us? If this is the 1, this is the 2. All right, is this going to be 3? Well, let's check it, right? So just same, I can't do it. Here, I got to go over to this. So we check the same thing. Same type of thing. So let's get this one off of here. Get you off. So on that smaller degree, we have a decent feel for a target here. Get you over here. All right, so just same thing, right? It's the same thing every time, guys. That's the advantage you have. All right, so look how that lines up. Do you see what we just got there? Do you see the confluence there? Let me do it again. All right, so we'd have length of the 1 projected from the 4. All right, so here's a little hot box. Now we have from the 2 through the 3. Right? So look what's right on top of that. So we get the algo target right on top of we get the 100 from the swing low, swing high from this pivot is on top of the algo target right here, which is our, what are we at, 975 and change, 975.15. So I'm very interested in this box up here. But is it 1, 2, 3? Well, interesting. Let's see if it's going to get a true third up here. All right, if we're going to get an Elliott Wave third, we're looking for a move well, let's just draw it here. Here's the big third up here. Well, let's put it together. All right, so from here, if this is 1, 2, we're looking for 3, 4, 5 up here. Let's get that. I'll get you something we can see easily. All right, so if that's 1 and this is 2, which I think there's a pretty solid case for, whatever this is, could be the 3, right? Because if we get 100%, could be the 3, but more likely what you're looking at is the 1 of the 3. Now, that's making some assumptions here, that this is going to come up here complete, and then we're going to get a sell-off, right? And then we'd go after the 3 that way. All right, so 1, 2, 3 up here, 4, and then 5, and so we're off to really, here's the 2618, right? That would be 2100. So this is potentially a very bullish count. Now, as to what happens next is going to be certainly a function of how the market interprets those earnings and guidance and everything else that you might anticipate from an earnings report. So this is definitely one to be on your radar, but I know it gets hard to see down there. All right, so if we look at this, If this 3 is going to hold here and this little ABC is our 4, well, we've got very technical targets up here with all sorts of confluence. So I wouldn't be anticipating that we're just going to keep going and going and going. We might, right? Of course, anything's possible. But if I were a buyer here, well, one, I don't like to buy ahead of earnings reports. It's just kind of a roll of the dice. I wouldn't do it myself. I'd wait and see. Now, of course, you risk the thing running away on you. All right, but at some point here, you're likely to get a pivot at some point this impulse is going to complete. So at that point, you're looking for next 50. So if we just clear the board here and let's get you off. If let's just say it does complete up here, right? We get up here and we get to that level. Well, you've got a completed impulse. So at that point, you're looking for 50% of that entire move, which would put you down here. Now you're down here. Something in this new update they did. All right, now we're looking right here. So you think, well, how is that going to happen? If we get a good earnings and we blow off to new highs, nothing says it must. All right, maybe we only do that. Nothing says that must be the path that it takes. But a lot of historical precedent would suggest that there's a reasonable candidate that if this is going to complete, it's not likely to be the. Let's see. It could be. But if it gets this 100, then it could be the third. I mean, I suppose it could be an ABC, but we potentially would still be thinking that's the third. If it were the third, well, then that would make this the 2. If that's the third, well, then maybe you tuck yourself into a more shallow retracement here, and we only do something like that. We only get the 38, right? So this would be 1, 2. I'd be reluctant to put it there, but potentially that's the 3. It would be long enough for the 3. If it starts to come down, well, you'd have to play it that way, right? That was the 4, and you're going up for the 5. So you'd be putting the thing together this way on the assumption that you were not going to get a full third here beyond 100% of the first swing. Right? It was a pretty good swing. So, that's not out of the ballpark to think that you'd get your third here at exactly 100% of the 1, but I wouldn't be counting on that. Right? I'd be more inclined to think, oh, third is still yet to come. That's just the 1 of the 3, and this would be the 2, looking for it deeper. All right, so a lot has to happen there, but right now you're kind of in a hurry up and wait, unless you're comfortable with a straddle or, you want to take some delta risk, interpreting, well, I suppose you could take the same risk and put together something that was delta negative if you were anticipating weakness off of the earnings. All right, or maybe a straddle, right? I don't like to trade those. The market has to move too far to make any money, but a lot of people do. Right, it's just not one that I prefer. Right, I'd rather have directional bias. So then maybe something like that. But I'd be waiting. I'd get through the earnings and let the market show itself, and then you'll have, I think, more clarity in terms of how to interpret the next swings and how to implement a trading plan around how the market responds here. All right, guys, there you go. Okay, have a good weekend.